Feel that? That flicker of doubt when you reveal too much. The unease when your words, your fears, your weaknesses are met with silence, judgment, or worse, used against you. Society tells men to be open, to be vulnerable, to lay their emotions bare. But that's a lie. A trap that strips you of your power and leaves you at the mercy of those who may not truly understand or respect what they see. A man is not defined by what he shares, but by what he chooses to withhold. Not out of deception, but out of discipline. Not out of fear, but out of wisdom. The Stoics knew this. Power isn't in seeking validation, but in mastering restraint. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." True control is knowing when to speak and when to stay silent. Women respect strength, and strength isn't loud. It doesn't beg to be understood. It doesn't spill every insecurity, every failure, every desperate hope onto the table, expecting acceptance in return. It stands firm, it moves with intent, it speaks when necessary, and only then. Today, we break down 8 things a man should never reveal to a woman, not as a game, not as manipulation, but as a code, a discipline, a way to ensure that no matter who enters your life, you remain the master of your own mind. How much of yourself have you given away without realizing it? How many times have you spoken when silence would have been your shield? Watch closely, take note, and decide, will you continue to hand over your power, or will you learn to hold it? Let's begin. Number 1. Insecurity about yourself. A man who openly doubts himself, who wears his insecurities like a badge, is a man who invites quiet disdain rather than admiration. Women don't fall for men who narrate their weaknesses, they fall for men who overcome them. Confidence isn't about being perfect, it's about standing unshaken in the face of imperfection. Yet too many men believe they can talk their way into reassurance, spilling their fears in hopes of comfort. That's not strength, that's surrender. Take Ethan, a 32-year-old software engineer in Austin. Smart, ambitious, but plagued by the belief that he wasn't good enough for the women he dated. Every time he got close to someone, the same pattern repeated. He'd start voicing his doubts, his looks, his career, whether he was interesting enough. He thought honesty would deepen the connection. Instead, the women who once admired him for his drive started seeing him as needy. The attraction dimmed. Conversations shifted from excitement to emotional caretaking, from admiration to obligation. One by one, they walked away, leaving Ethan more convinced than ever that he wasn't enough. But the truth? They didn't leave because of who he was. They left because of how he presented himself. Psychology backs this up. Studies on female mate selection show that women are instinctively drawn to certainty and status, not necessarily wealth or fame, but the internal status a man carries when he knows his worth. When a man constantly questions himself, he triggers a deep-rooted psychological response in women, a loss of perceived value. Dr. David Buss, evolutionary psychologist, notes that women have evolved to seek partners who demonstrate emotional stability and confidence, as these are indicators of a man's ability to handle stress, provide security, and lead in difficult situations. A man riddled with self-doubt signals unpredictability, something women are wired to avoid. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." A woman should never be the one responsible for convincing you of your worth. That's your job. The moment you seek validation from her, you place her above you, and whether she realizes it or not, she will lose respect. Women respect confidence because confidence is power, and power doesn't beg for reassurance. Think about the difference between a man who says and a man who is. One says, "I don't know if I'm good enough." The other proves he is. One over-explains his failures, hoping she'll tell him they don't matter. The other works in silence, letting his results do the talking. One waits for her approval before making a move. The other moves forward, knowing his path is his own. So what's the fix? You don't eliminate insecurity by discussing it. You eliminate it by acting against it. If you feel physically weak, train. If you feel uninformed, learn. If you feel socially awkward, put yourself in uncomfortable situations until confidence becomes second nature. The world doesn't reward men who wallow in self-doubt. It rewards those who build themselves from it. Women aren't your therapists. They aren't there to fix what's broken in you. And if you make them that, they will either resent you or leave you. Ethan learned this the hard way. After yet another failed relationship, he stopped talking about his problems and started solving them. He joined a public speaking course to kill his social anxiety. He hit the gym, not to impress, but to own his body. He built a life he respected, without needing constant reassurance. The result? The same women who once drifted away suddenly took notice. But by then, he didn't need their validation anymore. A man's worth isn't in his words, it's in his presence. Speak less of your insecurities. Act more in your strength. The world sees you the way you see yourself. The question is, are you a man who needs to be told he's enough, or a man who already knows? Number 2. Personal finances. Silence is wealth. A man who talks too much about his money, whether he has a lot or a little, is a man who doesn't understand power. Money isn't about talking, it's about control. Those who truly have it don't need to announce it. Those who don't, but pretend they do, reveal more weakness than strength. A real man lets his presence, his lifestyle, and his discipline speak for him. Think about Ryan, a 36-year-old entrepreneur from Miami. He started from nothing. Grew up in a low-income neighborhood, worked 2 jobs while studying finance, and built his wealth through relentless discipline. But you'd never know it by how he talked. Ryan didn't wear designer brands plastered with logos. He didn't post pictures of his bank balance, his luxury watch, or the 5-star dinners he could afford. Instead, he focused on what mattered: investments, growth, and keeping people guessing. Contrast that with Jason, a man obsessed with making sure everyone knew how high class he was. Jason's social media was flooded with rented sports cars, expensive vacations that maxed out his credit cards, and dinners at Michelin-starred restaurants. He talked endlessly about his connections and his big deals, hoping to impress. But those who truly had money saw right through him. Women were initially intrigued, but soon realized it was all surface. The moment the illusion cracked, so did their respect. He wasn't a man of wealth, he was a man desperate to appear wealthy. Psychology exposes why this behavior fails. Studies show that excessive bragging about money triggers reverse perception bias. People assume that the more someone flaunts wealth, the less they actually have. Dr. Thomas Gilovich, a psychologist at Cornell University, found that people who constantly discuss their wealth are often compensating for deeper insecurity. They don't talk about money for conversation, they talk about it for validation. Women don't respect that. But what about the opposite end? Men who complain about their lack of money. Just as dangerous. If you're struggling financially, fix it. Don't broadcast it. No one, especially a woman, wants to hear about your debts, your paycheck problems, or your financial stress. It doesn't invoke sympathy, it signals a lack of control. Control is everything. A woman doesn't care if you're in a financial hole, she cares if you have the mindset and the discipline to climb out of it. Seneca, a Stoic philosopher, wrote, "Wealth is the slave of a wise man, the master of a fool." A real man isn't controlled by money, he controls it. This means understanding silence is power. The richest men in the world don't need to tell you they're rich. You feel it in how they carry themselves, in the way they make decisions, in the calm certainty of their presence. You can try to hide wealth, but true status leaks through every action. Women don't fall for numbers in a bank account, they fall for what that wealth represents. If you have financial discipline, it shows in your lifestyle. How you dress, subtly elegant, not loud. Where you live, not necessarily extravagant but well kept, and how you carry yourself. If you're reckless with money, it shows too. In desperation, in poor decisions, in unstable energy. So how do you embody true financial confidence? 1. Stop talking about it. Let your actions and your discipline show who you are. If you're building wealth, let people wonder. If you're struggling, let them assume you have it under control. 2. Avoid flashy displays. If your goal is attention, you've already lost. Luxury should be a personal indulgence, not a marketing strategy for your ego. 3. Develop financial discipline. Make money work for you, not against you. Invest, grow, and secure your future, but never make money your identity. 4. Move in silence. The most powerful men don't seek approval. They let their presence do the talking. Ryan never needed to tell anyone he was wealthy, yet people respected him the moment he walked into a room. Jason, on the other hand, screamed for attention, and in doing so, revealed his own emptiness. The truth is, whether you're rich or poor, What you reveal says more about you than what you have. Keep them guessing. Keep your power. And most of all, let your wealth, your status, and your worth speak without you having to say a word. Number 3. Over-explaining long-term plans. A man acts. He doesn't announce a man's future is his own. His ambitions, his vision, his goals. These are not things to be displayed like trophies before they are won. Yet too many men fall into the trap of talking, of making grand declarations about what they will do, as if speaking it out loud makes it real. It doesn't. If anything, it weakens the very foundation of success. A man who constantly talks about his long-term plans before executing them is not seen as inspiring. He's seen as uncertain. He seeks approval before taking action, validation before proving himself. But reality is merciless. The world doesn't reward men who plan loudly. It rewards men who build silently. Take Daniel, a 29-year-old architect from Chicago. He had big dreams to start his own firm, to design skyscrapers that would change the city's skyline. He told everyone. Every woman he dated, every friend in his circle, even acquaintances he barely knew, he made sure they all heard about the empire he was going to build. The problem? He spent more time talking than actually executing. His ambition became performative, an act meant to impress rather than a force driving him forward. Over time, people stopped listening. His words lost weight, women lost interest. His grand plans became background noise, and the only thing real about them was that they remained plans. Contrast that with Michael, a 33-year-old software developer. He had no interest in broadcasting his moves. While others talked, he worked. While others sought validation, he built. Years passed, and suddenly he wasn't just another tech guy. He was running a company, hiring employees, making deals. By the time people realized what he had accomplished, it was already undeniable. He didn't need to tell anyone what he was going to do. His success spoke for itself. This isn't just common sense, it's psychological. Studies show that when people verbalize their goals too frequently, they actually become less likely to achieve them. Dr. Peter Gollwitzer, a psychologist at NYU, found that publicly announcing your plans can trick your brain into feeling a false sense of accomplishment, reducing the drive to actually complete them. The praise, the approval, the good for you from others create a dopamine hit, one that often replaces the motivation to act. Instead of using hunger as fuel, you've already fed yourself with empty validation. Seneca warned of this trap. The best way to guarantee failure is to seek applause before the work is done. A real man doesn't waste energy making sure everyone knows what he's going to do. He channels that energy into action, and when he finally speaks, it is not with promises, it is with results. Women, in particular, don't respect men who need to be believed in before proving themselves. They respect men who prove. When you sit across from a woman and tell her about your 5-year plan, your million-dollar idea, your future success, she might smile, nod, and say all the right things. But deep down, she doesn't care about what might be. She cares about what is real. She is watching not your words, but your movement. She is listening not to your speech, but to the silence in which you build. So what's the answer? 1. Stop announcing your every move. Let people see the results, not hear the plans. If you must speak, speak only about what is already happening, not what might happen. 2. Use your energy where it counts. Every moment spent explaining could be a moment spent executing. Silence forces action. 3. Let doubt fuel you, not slow you. If people don't believe in you, let it drive you harder. If they do, don't let their belief be a substitute for effort. Number 4. Keep people guessing. The most powerful men move in ways that leave others wondering, not knowing. Daniel talked about the future until it faded into nothing. Michael worked until the future was undeniable. The choice is simple. Be the man who speaks after he has built, not before. Because at the end of the day, the only thing that matters is this. Did you do it, or did you just talk about it? Number 4. Don't overshare your mistakes. Learn, fix, move on. Mistakes are meant to be learned from, not displayed. A man who constantly revisits his past failures, who spills every regret in an attempt to gain sympathy or understanding, is a man who unknowingly chains himself to his weakest moments. Women do not admire men who drown in self-pity or over-explain their shortcomings. They respect men who acknowledge, correct, and move forward. There is a dangerous misconception that vulnerability strengthens relationships. While honesty has its place, strategic silence is power. The moment you feed a woman too much of your past failures, you are etching that image into her mind. Even if she forgives, even if she nods and reassures you that it doesn't matter, her subconscious registers you as that man. The one who failed, the one who faltered, the one who wasn't enough. And the worst part? The more you remind her, the more that version of you solidifies in her perception. Take Jake, a 31-year-old fitness trainer from Los Angeles. Years ago, he made bad financial decisions, invested in the wrong ventures, maxed out his credit cards, and ended up deep in debt. When he started dating again, he thought full transparency was the way to build trust. So he told the woman he was seeing everything. How he once had to borrow money to pay rent, how he struggled with financial discipline, how he was rebuilding. At first, she seemed supportive. She admired his honesty. But over time, the way she looked at him changed. She started making offhand comments like, "Are you sure you can afford that?" Or, "I don't want us to struggle later." Jake had already fixed his financial situation, but it didn't matter. In her mind, he was still the man who failed financially. His past mistakes, which should have been long buried, were now permanently attached to him, not because she wanted to judge him, but because he conditioned her mind to associate him with failure. Psychology explains why this happens. The recency effect in cognitive science states that the more frequently someone recalls a memory, the stronger and more vivid it becomes in their mind. When you constantly talk about your past mistakes, you unknowingly reinforce them, not just in your own mind, but in hers. The more she hears it, the more it defines you in her subconscious. You are the stories you tell about yourself. Marcus Aurelius understood this well. Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. A Stoic man does not endlessly confess his past. He fixes, he learns, he moves forward. He does not beg for forgiveness or seek constant reassurance. He corrects course and lets his present actions redefine him. A woman doesn't need to hear about how you lost a job 5 years ago, or how an ex betrayed you and left you shattered. She needs to see the man you are now. If you must mention a past failure, do it briefly, with detachment, and only if it serves a purpose, to demonstrate growth, not to seek validation. So how do you handle your past mistakes with strength? 1. Own them, but don't dwell on them. Learn what you need to learn and move forward. No one respects a man who replays his failures like a broken record. 2. Fix in silence. If you've made mistakes, the best apology is correction, not a long-winded explanation. 3. Let people see your present, not your past. Women in the world respond to who you are now, not who you were. 4. Speak of lessons, not regrets. If a topic arises, don't frame it as a personal tragedy. Frame it as a stepping stone. Jake eventually learned this lesson. He stopped over-explaining his past. He let his financial stability and discipline speak for themselves. The next woman he dated didn't see him as the guy who once struggled with money. She saw him as a man who was in control of his future. The truth is simple. You are either a man burdened by his past, or a man defined by his present actions. The choice is yours. Number 5. Looking down on other men. A small man's crutch. Weak men criticize, strong men conquer. The moment you waste energy tearing down another man to elevate yourself, you've already admitted inferiority. The loudest voices in the room, the ones who constantly belittle others, mock their successes, or highlight their flaws, are never the ones truly in power. A man who is secure in himself has no need to measure others. He is too busy building. Take Nathan, a mid-level manager who never missed a chance to insult his more successful peers. He'd scoff at a colleague's new car, claiming it was probably leased. He'd dismiss an acquaintance's fitness transformation, saying he must be on steroids. He always had a way to minimize someone else's achievement. But the truth was transparent. Nathan wasn't successful himself. His words were nothing but an attempt to mask his own shortcomings. The more he spoke, the more obvious it became. He wasn't exposing them. He was exposing himself. Meanwhile, Mark, a quiet entrepreneur, moved differently. He didn't waste time critiquing others. If another man was doing well, he observed, learned, and applied. He saw no point in tearing others down, because real power is improving yourself through results, not words. While Nathan spent his energy sneering at others, Mark was outgrowing them. Psychology explains why men like Nathan fail. Dr. Jordan Peterson describes this behavior as status anxiety, the weak man's fear that he is falling behind. Instead of improving, he attacks those ahead, hoping to drag them down rather than elevate himself. But the mind doesn't work that way. When you constantly criticize others, you reinforce your own mediocrity. Your brain registers their success as a threat, not a lesson. You condition yourself to resent winners rather than become one. Epictetus once said, "If you wish to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." A real man doesn't need to validate himself by discrediting others. He understands that greatness is not a competition with others, it is a battle with himself. Think about it. Have you ever seen a truly powerful man waste time trashing another? High-level men, whether in business, fitness, or leadership, never waste breath on petty insults. They are too busy executing. They don't feel threatened by another man's success because they know their own path is unstoppable. So how do you ensure you're not falling into the weak man's trap? 1. Observe, don't judge. If another man is succeeding, ask what he did right, not what must be wrong with him. 2. Speak less, build more. Every minute spent mocking another man is a minute stolen from your own progress. 3. Compete with yourself. The only comparison that matters is who you were yesterday versus who you are today. 4. Let your results do the talking. The strongest men don't speak their superiority, they demonstrate it. Nathan is still bitter, still stagnant, still criticizing. Mark is thriving, too focused on his own empire to care what others think. The choice is yours. Will you be the man who talks about power or the man who actually has it? Number 6, negative thinking. Your mind is a magnet for your reality. A man who constantly spills negativity, who drowns in complaints, who sees failure before he even tries, who radiates defeat, is a man who repels success, repels opportunity, and worst of all, repels people. Nobody wants to be around the guy who thinks the world is against him, who blames the economy, his upbringing, or sheer bad luck for his stagnation. People are drawn to winners, not victims. Your mind is a magnet, and what you consistently focus on, you attract. This isn't just philosophical talk, it's backed by psychology. Dr. Martin Seligman, the father of positive psychology, found that people with an optimistic mindset perform better in work, relationships, and life, not because they are delusional, but because their brains actively seek solutions instead of dwelling on problems. When you train yourself to expect the worst, your subconscious works overtime to make sure you're right. Take David, a 30-year-old salesman in Denver. Every day, he started his mornings with the same complaints. The market is dead, no one's buying, the economy is screwed. He told himself these things so often that they became his truth. His performance dropped, his motivation crumbled, and his attitude became so toxic that clients could sense his failure before he even made a pitch. He had programmed his own downfall. Contrast that with Lucas, working the same job, in the same city, in the same economy. The difference? He refused to entertain negativity. When deals fell through, he adjusted. When challenges arose, he focused on solutions, not complaints. His belief that things would work kept him sharp, adaptable, and ahead of the game. He made money while David spiraled into self-destruction. Marcus Aurelius understood this centuries ago. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. A Stoic man doesn't waste breath on how unfair life is. He understands that no one cares about his problems, only how he handles them. Women don't admire men who rant about how hard things are. They respect men who handle difficulty with quiet control. Think about it. How do you feel around a man who constantly complains, who sees nothing but doom, who believes his life is destined for failure? His energy infects you, drags you down. Now imagine standing next to a man who, no matter what happens, remains unshaken. He's not delusional, he's disciplined. He knows setbacks happen, but he refuses to be defeated. So how do you reprogram your mind for strength? 1. Eliminate weak language. Stop saying, "This always happens to me, nothing ever works out," or "I'll never get out of this." Your brain is listening. 2. Replace complaints with solutions. The moment you catch yourself whining, force yourself to think, "What can I do about it?" 3. Surround yourself with winners. Your mindset is shaped by those around you. Cut out negativity like cancer. 4. Let your actions define you, not your doubts. Fear, failure, setbacks, they happen to everyone. The difference is whether you let them control you or fuel you. David is still blaming the world. Lucas is winning. The difference? One man let negativity consume him. The other refused to give it power. Which one are you? Number 7, the need to prove yourself. The weak man's trap. A man who constantly feels the urge to prove himself to a woman is a man who has already lost. The moment you try too hard, whether it's by flexing your achievements, exaggerating your status, or carefully curating a perfect image, you expose the one thing women instinctively detect: insecurity. Confidence isn't about telling people who you are. It's about being so secure in yourself that you don't care whether they know or not. The strongest men in history didn't waste time convincing people of their worth. They lived by their principles, and the world adjusted. Psychology confirms this. Studies on status signaling show that people who overtly display their wealth, intelligence, or social standing are often perceived as less competent than those who let their actions speak. Dr. Cameron Anderson, a psychologist at UC Berkeley, found that those who quietly exude confidence without the need for external validation are consistently rated as more influential and respected. Women pick up on this immediately. Take Josh, a 28-year-old consultant in San Francisco. He had money, status, and an impressive career, but he felt an unshakable need to make sure women knew it. Every conversation turned into an opportunity to showcase his success. Yeah, I just closed a $2 million deal last month. I drive an Audi because, I like quality. He thought this would impress women, but instead it exhausted them. They nodded, smiled politely, but their attraction faded. Why? Because he was trying too hard. And if you have to try too hard, it means you don't fully believe in yourself. Now look at Brandon, a 32-year-old entrepreneur. He had built his own business from the ground up, but he never felt the need to advertise it. If a woman asked what he did, he simply said, "I run a business." No details, no bragging. If she was curious, she'd ask more. If not, he didn't care. His lack of need for validation made him 10 times more attractive than Josh's scripted success stories. Epictetus put it best: if you wish to be great, do not waste time convincing others. Become great, and they will see. A Stoic man lives his truth without needing applause. His actions, his presence, and his unwavering self-belief naturally command respect. So how do you eliminate this need to prove yourself? 1. Stop trying to impress. If you feel the urge to highlight your achievements, ask yourself why. Is it for them or for your own insecurity? 2. Live by your principles, not by their approval. A man of conviction never seeks permission to be who he is. 3. Let silence speak for you. The less you explain, the more people assume. Mystery is power. 4. Accept that respect is earned, not demanded. If you truly have value, people will see it without you ever needing to say a word. Josh is still talking. Brandon is simply living. The difference? One man needs validation. The other is validation. Who do you think women are drawn to? Number 8. The illusion of control. A man masters himself, not his woman. Control is a paradox. The more you try to control a woman, the more you lose her. The more you control yourself, the more she is drawn to you. Weak men don't understand this. They grip tighter, interrogate, and demand loyalty as if it's something they can force. But control born from insecurity always leads to resentment. Ryan made this mistake over and over again. Every time Emily got a message from a male friend, he needed an explanation. Who is that? Why did he text you? You replied fast. Should I be worried? He thought his constant questioning would make her more transparent, more devoted, but all it did was make her feel suffocated. At first, she reassured him, told him it was nothing, but over time, the weight of his insecurity made her withdraw. She started feeling more like a defendant on trial than a woman in a relationship. It wasn't another man who pulled her away. It was Ryan's paranoia, his need to exert control over something that should have been built on trust. His fear of losing her became the very thing that drove her away. Now compare that to Jason. At dinner with Sophia, her phone buzzed. She glanced down, typed a response, and set it aside. That was Alex, from work. Jason didn't even look up from his drink. Cool, she smirked. You're not going to ask who he is? He shrugged, calm and indifferent. I don't need to. If there was something I should be concerned about, I'd know. That single sentence said more than any interrogation ever could. Jason didn't need control. His presence alone commanded respect. He wasn't worried about competition because he didn't see any. And that confidence? It was intoxicating. Psychology confirms this. Women instinctively test a man's self-assurance. They provoke, they question, they challenge, not because they're manipulative, but because they want to see what's underneath. A man who panics at the slightest hint of uncertainty fails that test. A man who remains steady earns respect. Dr. Robert Glover, author of No More Mr. Nice Guy, describes this as the non-attachment principle. Women are drawn to men who do not need them to validate their worth. The moment you start trying to control a woman, you send a signal that you don't trust her, and worse, that you don't trust yourself. Marcus Aurelius put it simply, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. The weak man tries to control her. The strong man controls himself, and in doing so, controls the dynamic of the relationship. The answer isn't to monitor, interrogate, or dictate her actions. The answer is to become the man she doesn't want to lose. A man so valuable, so secure in his own path, that she naturally chooses to stay. So how do you eliminate the need for control? First, kill your insecurity at the root. If you feel the urge to control her, it's because you feel out of control within yourself. Fix that. Build a life so full that you don't fear losing her. A man with options never clings. Stop reacting emotionally. The calmer you are, the more she respects you. Women don't stay because they're trapped. They stay because they admire and desire the man they're with. Be that man. Control yourself, and you'll never have to control her. Conclusion. Control yourself or be controlled. Stoicism does not offer a middle ground. You either master yourself or you are ruled by your emotions, your insecurities, and the people around you. The world does not care about your excuses, your jealousy, or your need for validation. It only respects those who command themselves with absolute discipline. A man who seeks to control others, especially the woman in his life, is a man who has already lost control of himself. Those who live in fear of being cheated on, fear of being left, fear of losing power, will never hold true power. Strength is not in monitoring, restricting, or demanding. It is in becoming so unshakable that no external force can break you. Happiness, respect, and freedom do not come to those who grasp desperately at control. They come to the man who is too disciplined to let insecurity define him. The question is not whether you can trust her. The question is whether you trust yourself. The weak cling, doubt, and self-destruct. The strong focus inward, build, and command respect effortlessly. If this struck a nerve, then it's time to act. Subscribe to Victory Stoic, drop a comment below, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. Strength isn't built through overthinking, it's built through action. The only question is, are you in control or are you still letting fear control you?